With small shaking hands, her little fingers felt the smooth texture of the box. It almost seemed as if it were alive. She could feel warmth inside the box. Energy from the room seemed to be pushing her ever forward into this nightmare that was her life. Hello, you are listening to In My Words. The book I am reading from is titled The Monster We Call Dad by D.A. Riles. This book is not intended for young readers. After each reading session, I will show or discuss a various topic of interest. Leaving a comment will help my videos get noticed more and allow other people to view them. Also, purchasing one or all three of my books will be very helpful. My newest book is out, titled The Sensitives. You can find it at Amazon.com under The Sensitives by D.A. Riles. Thank you for your time and consideration. Chapter 41, Birthday Party. Another year came and went. Sarah was growing up. She liked the new awareness of herself. She felt more assured, and although small, she liked knowing that she was learning right from wrong. Being a small child, she had her insecurities, but as the years passed, she was better able to deal with her emotions. Putting a voice to all of the thoughts passing through her head eased her somewhat, for before they were so confusing. But as the years went by, they became much clearer. She was still unable to actually speak most of her concerns out loud, but this too soon would change. Birthdays were almost never celebrated in the household. However, this year, Sarah was given an actual birthday party. Mom, Dad, sisters, brothers, and even her godparents were there. Sarah felt special. She felt as if perhaps this party meant the end of the monster. There was birthday cake, ice cream, and 2 gifts from Mom and Dad, plus 2 from her godparents. What a joy! So many presents. After opening both gifts from her parents, which were a diary and paper dolls, Sarah went to open the gift which her godfather presented to her. A hush fell over the room. Sarah became frightened. She didn't want to open the box that she just received. She knew something bad was going to happen. Sitting next to her godmother Rita, Sarah set the box down between the two. "What are you doing?" Dad asked in a loud voice. Sarah shrugged her shoulders, knowing she would get in trouble if she didn't open the box, but she was afraid. Sarah replied as she shook her short, blonde, curly-haired head in objection. "Uncle Pete took the time to get you that gift. Now open it," Dad demanded, as all eyes turned to the birthday girl. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as her shaking hands lifted up the box, trying to examine it from the outside. A snicker passed over Uncle Pete's booze-soaked lips. Daring a glance sideways, Sarah took in the heavy-set man's wobbly frame. His clothes reeked of filth and alcohol. His balding head showed blotches of dirt from lying on the ground. Hearing a noise coming from across the room, Sarah realized that she was taking too long, and Dad was becoming more agitated. Now more than ever, she didn't want to open the box. Pushing her body into Rita, Sarah looked up at her great-aunt with pleading eyes. Rita was warm and mushy, for she too was fat. But Sarah didn't mind, for Rita cared about her little godchild and treated her as well as she was able. There were times when Sarah would sit on Rita's lap, but the big woman grew larger with each passing year, and soon she had no lap left to sit on. Seeing the curly-haired child looking up at her, great-aunt Rita shook her black-haired head in a sign of defeat. She couldn't help the child any more than her mom would. Silent tears flowed down the birthday girl's face. Defeat coursed through her body as it began to quiver with fear. "Stop crying, you little baby," Dad jeered at his young daughter. "You're making it into an effing big deal. Just open the effing box." Infuriated that this child was rebelling against him, Dad's body began to tense. Trying to ease his anger, Thomas thought, "Isn't that why I call her Rebelitis?" A thin smile crossed over his lips, but was quickly replaced by a sneer. His daughter's boldness made him feel almost proud of her, but Thomas felt as if she was sucking the joy right out of the air because of her whining. He didn't like it. He felt as if his daughter was intentionally defying him in front of his uncle. He didn't like it at all. Hands balling into fists, he stood up. With a slow, steady pace, he walked toward his child. Hearing Dad come toward her, didn't stop the sobs of tears as she slowly began to pull at one of the corners of the box. Seeing Sarah comply with his wishes, he stopped midway, puffed up his chest, and took a wide stance with his legs as he crossed his arms, making him look even more menacing than usual. Since he bullied his daughter into doing as he asked, the neurotic man took his place back on the couch. Although Sarah didn't have the benefit of seeing her dad, she could feel his presence. With small shaking hands, her little fingers felt the smooth texture of the box. It almost seemed as if it were alive. She could feel warmth inside the box. Energy from the room seemed to be pushing her ever forward into this nightmare that was her life. Expecting something to come out of the deep recesses of the object, Sarah felt as if it were pulling her inward, wanting to swallow her into its abyss. Sarah's breathing increased nearly to a pant. It was almost impossible for her lungs to fill with life-giving air. The effects of hyperventilation began to take over as she started to feel lightheaded. Thinking of all the horrors that might lie within, Sarah paused, one thought after another becoming more hellish than the last. What if it pulls me into a place which is worse than home? Maybe a place where the monster is kept. Maybe it lives inside this box. She knew that her thoughts were becoming out of control, but she just couldn't shake the fear that continued to consume her body. What if I become a monster? What if I'd have to crawl into another person's body and make it dance a predatory dance? What if I became bad and would have to bring someone else to the hell on earth that I feel? Painful, shallow breaths inhibited rational thinking as her mind continued to assault her immature body. Sarah allowed her imagination to run wild. Would I have to become a person's puppet master, making an innocent human its plaything? Would I become as bad as the monster? Feeling her body shudder, Sarah knew she had to tamp down her fear before Dad became mad from her hesitation. With great effort, the brave child opened one side of the lid as she held the box as far from her body as she could. "Put your hand inside, you crybaby. It's a surprise," Dad said, his eyes glistening with intensity as his insults began to warp his lips into a sneer. Tauntingly, Thomas said to Jane, "Look, Mom, she doesn't want a gift. What a dumb F." Mom said nothing as she stared blankly into space. Dad's snide comments hurt his little daughter, yet Sarah knew she must hurry or the full fury of the monster would erupt. She knew the monster was there, laying in wait, hoping it would have the opportunity to bring Sarah to its final demise. Please like, share, and subscribe. I look forward to having you join me again next time, where I will show another topic, and I will continue to read from the book titled The Monster We Call Dad by D.A. Riles, which you can purchase from Amazon.com. My newest book is out, titled The Sensitives. You can find it at Amazon.com under The Sensitives by D.A. Riles. Thank you for having joined me.